Hello and welcome to the Gimme a Hull Yeah podcast. I'm Ant.
I'm Dom.
Go on, give me a hull yeah.
Give me a hull yeah. Hull yeah.
Hull yeah.
Look at our new t-shirts.
Got t-shirts, give me a hull yeah t-shirts.
Yes, you can buy these and these from our Patreon. Patreon.com/givemeahull if you so wish. Prices and everything are on there. We appreciate your support. If you buy our stuff, we might do a striptease, but probably not. We may give you creative control over the podcast, but probably not.
We might just read your name out.
But
that'd be great.
But if you do come and support us, we do appreciate feedback.
Massively.
We're an early. We just started doing this. We're aware that we're a bit excitable and a little bit weird, so we appreciate any feedback. If you want to, buy our shirts and support us, you do have a right to offer feedback and stuff as well. So please support us on Patreon. Please give us your likes and feedback and let us know how we can improve this thing for you. Do you want some guests on here? What do you want to see? What do you want to see happen to the Give Me a Hull Yeah Wrestling podcast in the future? That's that. We're doing the Royal Rumble 1988 today.
We are 24th of January 1988 in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. So second pay-per-view in Canada next to the big event. Not a pay-per-view, like the big event. So it on the network, it's listed in the pay-per-view list. This is listed as the first Royal Rumble. But it might not be the first Royal Rumble, but we'll go into that when we get to the Royal Rumble section. So it's listed in the pay-per-view as it's not, but it's recognised as the first Royal Rumble. And obviously the first winner is recognised as the first Royal Rumble winner.
Indeed.
Although that might not be the case.
Yes. No.
So the commentators tonight were Vince McMahon and Jesse Ventura.
I hate Vince McMahon. Wait. I don't hate I strongly dislike Vince McMahon as a commentator. I mean, it's not like I know Vince personally or anything, but his commentating, he just seems like he's not arsed. The whole time.
I don't think he names a lot of the moves well enough for me.
It's a bit like, I imagine, so if you're Jesse the Body, and I'm Vince McMahon, it's a bit like, I don't give a fuck about you. You're the commentator. I'm Vince McMahon, but I'm going to pretend like I give a fuck. Yeah. And I'm going to say stuff that seems to make sense to me, but it doesn't make sense to anybody else.
No. There's I think also with Jesse, Jesse does well to play with him. Jesse plays well with everyone.
Jesse plays well with everyone.
He does okay with that, but there's still a small element of this is my boss I'm talking to, and how far can we go?
And that's the problem. I think in the early days when Vince McMahon was trying to be a bit more hands-on, not that he didn't become hands-on in later parts of his wrestling career with the female staff and the and some of the male members.
Well, he did a great job with the heel McMahon stuff.
But he's a bit anyway, proper cringeworthy at this point and later on for different reasons in his on-screen life. But Vince McMahon. Like I say, it was very much you could see in the eyes of everybody but Randy Savage. when it was everybody but Randy Savage, you could see there was a little bit of apprehension about saying stuff and a little bit of those. It was kind of like an odd. It was definitely an odd vibe. Whereas you see Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body, or even these days with even Byron Saxton and JBL have better chemistry.
I'd agree. Yeah.
Than perhaps this pair, and this is just my opinion, but there's certainly an awkward.
It's an opinion, and it works.
Everybody's got one.
First match,
just like an asshole.
Okay. First match: Ravishing Rick Rude versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Yeah, man, Rick Rude.
First, not the first showing of him. He was in the Survivor Series match, but we decided to talk a little bit more about him in this episode because he's got a solo match, hasn't he? So
yeah, I mean, it was one of the best conditioned athletes at the time. A bit like a Billy Gunn for the Attitude Era and Dolph Ziggler now. One of the kind of best workers and the best looking. In terms of both aesthetically but conditioned athletes at the time, and his pure legacy was brilliant. It was quite sad to know. I don't think I mentioned it in the last episode. He was 40 when he passed away.
Young.
Heart failure, and he was actually training for an in-ring return at 40,
right.
When he was going to come back. But Sheer, he had a good run. He had a good run in WCW, a brilliant run in WCW, arguably better than his WWE run. He also had a brief run in ECW where he was helping out the WWE in their brief kind of rivalry. ECW and WWE were trading talent during that period, and so that's Rick Rude was a part of that, and Rick Rude was helping the storyline where Jerry Lawler was dissing ECW and stuff, and that was nice. I thought he worked really well. He actually worked really well as a heel manager. And he founded the original DX, which I think we covered, but I think that needs reinstating the fact that he had such a in kind of modern, or well, modern to us anyway. We're old, but yeah, he had such an impact in the Attitude Era WWE as well for a period of time. He did. But his heel work at this period. I don't think we're quite there yet in terms of our timeline, but his heel work in this period was some of the best in history.
They're not giving him the time at the minute with promos at the start, of which become iconic, especially when he was calling the crowd sweat hogs. But he was also, you've talked about the WCW and WWF feud, the Monday Night Wars. He was one of the massive shots in that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was the first. I think we talked about this as well in the previous episode, but he was the first person to ever, and the only person since, to appear on the same. He appeared on WCW and Monday Night Raw on the same night. Yeah.
But the interesting thing about that was, part of the selling point of WCW was that it was live and Raw wasn't live. So they'd actually had Rick Rude under contract the week before. I believe he had a beard as well on WWF TV. And then as soon as he come on to WCW, he'd shaved, and it was Eric Bischoff's way of saying, this is live, that isn't live, so don't bother watching that. And there was a lot of them type of shots fired, but that was a massive move.
Yeah, it was
to get Rick Rude. And he was part of the NWO as well, wasn't he?
He was part of the NWO. Yeah, he was in a lot of the major historical factions in some form. Yep. He was helping out Mr. Perfect for a brief period of time during their time in NWO. And yeah, it's a shame that he didn't didn't get to have a singles run, but he was going through a lot of injuries. Well, he got time.
He was retired by Sting, wasn't he? In I think it was a match in Japan or somewhere like that. And in the Japanese arenas, they used to build the ring on more of a platform, and they still do. If you look at like the Kenny Omega matches and stuff like that. So they'd built it on a platform. He'd been tossed out of the ring or something, and he'd caught his back on the platform, and it damaged his back to the point where it was difficult for him to work. And I think he hated Sting for a long time because of that. Actually, I'm glad. I think they got to mend it before he passed away.
Yeah. Like I say, I think he was training for that in-ring return, which would have been wonderful to see. One of my greatest moments, even though I'm a huge fan, Mark, or whatever you want to call it, for Jake Roberts, one of his greatest moments. And one of his defining moments was the feud he had with Jake Roberts, and he actually, used Jake's real life wife at the time.
It did
as a catalyst for that feud, and he had the wonderful painted tights. I don't believe that anybody to this day has better tights than Rick Rude. He had
it's so good because you never knew what you was going to get.
What I'm doing is I'm not touching my crotch. I'm going to. So I'm motioning,
gesturing.
But he had Jake's real life wife on his crotch.
Yeah, but it was great. There was another superstar that did a similar sort of thing a lot, and that was he was not really a superstar. The manager, Jimmy Hart. Jimmy Hart would paint whoever he was looking after, whoever he was managing on his back. Yeah. Whoever was doing that in the WWF was doing great work. It looked great.
Does somebody know? We'll give him a shout out next podcast, because that artist is incredible.
Yeah, iconic.
Yeah, absolutely. Just as an interesting question to the viewers and to you, would you, given the worldwide recognition that you can achieve as a wrestler, would you put your health? Would you if we weren't going to make millions and millions and millions and millions of pounds doing a wrestling podcast, and we were going to do something else, would you risk that? Would you risk your health personally, Anthony, by being a wrestler? Because obviously a lot of celebrity, a lot of wonderful things can happen to you, and obviously the majority, touch wood, they have good careers, but again, you risk your health, you risk your mental health, and you risk obviously a lot of things to do that. And obviously Rick Rude's career cut short, and countless others. Dynamite Kid, would you? So my question, is would you do it if you had another go round and you were going to start a new career?
And the reason isn't necessarily because of the risk of health. The reason is more because I'm too lazy to put in all the physical work that's involved. I think in any sport there is always a risk. I think if you're good enough at that sport, look at rugby. For our American audience, that's a sport similar to
American football.
Similar to, well, it has a ball shape. I don't know if it is similar, but anyway, check out rugby. They're putting their health on the lines in the same way that wrestlers are. They can get concussions and all that sort of stuff. So I wouldn't do it, but that's the choice that people make, isn't it? And I think wrestling, although it is fake, obviously real life injuries do occur.
It's real to me, damn it.
Real life injuries occur. I wouldn't do it, or I probably would have done it. And I respect anyone that does do it and can put the time into do it, because the physical conditioning.
So you would have done it if you were younger, you're saying? Or?
No.
No.
Okay,
all right.
No, too much. Hard work.
Would you guys let us know in the comments?
Yeah, let us know. Or if you're a aspiring wrestler, let us know as well.
Yeah, we will. We'd like to. I think it's a sort of goal of ours to get more wrestlers involved in the channel.
Yeah, well, we've got a couple of wrestlers already that are liking the podcast and stuff like that. So that's great.
Yeah, get involved.
Back to the match. Ravishing Rick Rude and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. The Ravishing Rick Rude has been given the Jesse the Body Award. Yeah. His body looked great, and if I was to compare it to anything these days, I think Finn Balor is that sort of chiselled. And the same sort of frame.
I don't know, man. Like that was Rick Rude was next level. I see what you mean. Same frame, but I don't know. There's not been a physique like that. Like a Chris Masters has that kind of. I mean, Chris Masters was bigger,
maybe so. Yeah.
But just that kind of. I'm very comfortable with my sexuality, so I'm going to say beautiful physique.
Mm-hmm.
Very chiseled. So I don't think in that time. That's why I compared him to, because people say the same things about Ziggler these days. They say the same thing about Billy Gunn back in the Attitude Era. Just so well conditioned.
Yeah.
The best conditioned athlete. And maybe you're right about Balor. I can't think of one these days. I can't think of one these days.
I mean, you could say Jinder, but it's a different phrase. It's too big, isn't it?
Jinder would be the closest, I would have said, maybe.
Cool. So we had Jesse ribbing Vince McMahon about his body not being suitable for the Jesse the Body Award, which I thought was really great. I thought Jesse probably had a bit of fun with that.
Yeah, I bet Vince told him to do it, probably.
Yeah, probably. Well, maybe, or either that or he got a bollocking after the show, but either way. So Ricky the Dragon flexes in the ring, mocking Rude after tossing him out of the ring. So he was doing the Rick Rude flexing, which I thought was a nice little character bit. The woman in the front row. Brilliant.
I think like I say, the Rick Rude thing, that was his gimmick, wasn't it? The gimmick was the fainting and the weird, the weird female interactions and all that stuff.
This woman was slightly different. I think we're talking about a different woman. I'm talking about the woman with a megaphone.
Oh, right, yeah.
She had a megaphone and a hat on with two clapping hands, which was the weirdest sort of 80s thing. And all the way through the match, she's using the megaphone, and you can constantly hear her. In one point in the match, it actually distracts Ravishing Rick Rude, because she's like, she's talking to him. She's, get out of here. Why you have to make such a name for yourself at a show? I don't know. I found it quite funny.
I'm surprised nobody came and
I think they did, because she later on in the Royal Rumble, certainly she didn't have it. I don't know at what point they took it off her, but
she still had the hat.
She still had this awful hat. Yeah, it must have been one of these mechanical things. So she pressed the thing and a hat clapped for her.
Amazing.
Nasty 80s fashion.
We should get one of those for the podcast.
There was some nice, again, I've talked about Steamboat's arm drags before. They were stunning. They looked so neat, so sharp. Yeah. And part of the story of this match was Steamboat waking over Rude's arm. So we had that going on.
Yeah, it was a lot. I think that built quite a lot into the feud, didn't it?
It did, yeah, and any match is only as good as a story going into the match, as we saw in Battleground. Rude was distracted by the woman. She was shouting, "You stink! You stink! You stink!" in the megaphone. How a bit too much audience thingy when it's not meant to be.
Would have been good in a heel. She would have been a great heel in terms of maybe, because obviously the megaphone thing, you could have tied that in with Jimmy Hart, and you could maybe if she was part of the part of the storyline, you could have tied.
It would have been great to see Jimmy Hart when he comes out later take the megaphone off her or something like that, but it didn't happen.
We should be writers for the WWE.
Yeah,
we probably spend too much time insulting.
Well, that's not even something you need to write. That's just something you sort out backstage. We've got this annoying woman on the front row. How do we get rid of her? Well, this is the guy with a megaphone. He's going to have an argument with her or something and take it off her. And then security's going to say, "Oh, sit down, stop with the megaphone." As simple as that. Ricky Steamboat hits the mat as he's in a reverse chinlock by Rude. So, he was in a submission, a rear chinlock by Rick Rude, and he was constantly hitting the mat. And obviously nowadays that's clearly that's I submit. And I'm glad that they use that actually as I submit, as opposed to being told by the referee. I sort of don't like that.
Yeah, you need more of it. Yeah, you need more of a
definite thing. But it was a constant sort of thing that was strange to watch from this sort of time. You know?
That's weird. I've not seen anything like that since.
Rude had a good. Rude. We talked about selling a bit with the Honky Tonk Man in the last episode, and how he'd used selling as a way of. He'd incorporated his character into his selling, I suppose. Yeah. Rude had a really clever way of selling individual parts of his body without it being too big.
Top, yeah.
Yeah, but
it's very, very grand movements, though. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was grand movements, but on like a really small scale. Like I'd compare it, like Shawn Michaels sometimes could go a bit over the top. I think Rick Rude had a really great way of you could see what part of the body had been hurt. And I thought that was really great and a testament to Rude's work.
He would do it over time as well, you know what I mean? Like, he would sell it during the course of a long match, you know what I mean? Things would come up.
I think the point, the bit that made me realise it was when he was laying on the floor and it was just his back, but he was writhing around on the floor, but it wasn't going everywhere in the ring. It wasn't a massive sort of thing. It wasn't
like a
really
rock
pinpointed.
Backflip.
No, exactly, yeah. But it was really good, really great selling work. Steamboat hits the referee as Rude throws him into a crossbody. So Rude holds Steamboat overhead for submission and the ref calls for the bell. Yeah. However, so Rick Rude's music starts playing. The ref calls for the disqualification on Rude for pushing Steamboat, for pushing him into the crossbody, which means Steamboat wins. So we've got the heel celebrating, going down the aisle, and then obviously Steamboat win. I don't think this was the best match that these two ever had. It was okay.
Now, like I say, we so often in these videos, it's the classic heel face interaction. The classic heel face result that we've seen quite a lot already. A lot of repetition in this era that I can't wait to leave behind when they get more inventive with the finishes. The DQ wins for the face and all that kind of stuff. It's like I say, it was a standard match. Nothing, especially in the context of other things that we've seen, but then of course better than some of the matches we've seen. So yeah,
it was okay. Jesse the Body Ventura interviewed by Mean Gene Oakland about being the spotter for Dino Bravo. So we have a whole section coming up with Dino Bravo, which lasts for so long. Yeah. And it's all about
over the top.
Dino Bravo attempting the world record for a bench press, which in this time was £705. So the gimmick is that Dino wants quiet from the audience, constantly sort of playing for that. Frenchie Martin, who was his manager, I thought added nothing to the segment whatsoever. No. It went on for it must have been about 20 minutes.
It was a bit lost. It was very confused.
But again,
I don't think any of them really knew what they were trying to do.
We've got to sort of remember that this isn't a pay-per-view. This is a special TV show. Yeah. Like I say, I don't think it was rubbish to watch.
It didn't come across how they wanted it to come across, for sure.
Yeah, if you're watching it, just skip it. It's really not worth.
Or tell us that we're full of shit.
And then he goes to lift the £715 for the world record, and Jesse, as the spotter, helps him make the press, so he doesn't help. So Dino doesn't do a full fully outreached, a locked off arm. Jesse helps him, and it comes up quite a lot in the pay-per-view. There's a constant back and forth between Vince and Ventura about it, and it just went on way too long.
Yeah, it felt a bit flat, I think.
Yeah, massively flat for me anyway. Maybe the people at the time enjoyed it, but
I think at the time, people want to see that stuff, don't they? They want to see the powerful guy and all that kind of stuff. And I think that it worked in some ways for that, because but then if it had been 10 minutes shorter, even 15 minutes shorter, it would have
it would have done the same job. Next up, we've got the Jumping Bomb Angels and versus the Glamour Girls with Jimmy Hart, which is a women's tag team championship match. 2 out of 3 falls. Yeah, two out of 3 falls tag team matches in this pay-per-view.
And I I love those types of matches.
Don't mind them.
Whether it was nice to have 2, in such quick succession after.
Yeah, without many other matches on the card.
But then I do like these days you have the Hell in the Cell matches. You know what I mean? You have those.
Yeah, when you've got 3 Hell in the Cells. Hell in the Cell's a bit better than a 2 out of 3 falls, though.
But so I've done well. They're okay. This was okay. Obviously, you're a big fan of the Jumping Bomb Angels.
Yeah. Well, going into this, the Jumping Bomb Angels were the ones that had pinned the Glamour Girls at Survivor Series. So that's sort of the story leading up to why they get a championship opportunity. Big fan of the Jumping Bomb Angels from the Survivor Series. Don't think they did quite as well in this match.
Not as good a show, not as tight.
No, but maybe there was a lot more stuff going on. And I think maybe the Survivor Series one was just a bit of a shock to us that women's wrestling could have been really great at that time because we'd seen so much poor stuff.
It was the restrictions that we were. I guess we thought there was a lot more restrictions at this time, and then to put in that showing that they did at the Survivor Series was brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was coming off of that and having this was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this is generally, in my opinion, overall it's an okay.
It was okay. Vince and Jesse didn't give names to the Angels. That annoyed the hell out of me. It was just red and pink until a bit later on in the match where they started to use it. Yeah. How can you sell a character with the name red and pink? You can't do it. They need to have names. You need to sell the character.
Yeah. I think it was purely just laziness. Maybe laziness. Maybe I don't know. Maybe on-screen nerves from the commentators. But that sounds silly. But they didn't want to get the names wrong or whatever. But
it annoyed me. Yeah. There was no need for it. Judy Martin got the first pin for the Glamour Girls. The Jumping Bomb Angels got some good double team moves and some nice setups. Judy Martin gets pinned for the second fall, and each pin in this match, this really annoyed me. They stopped the match, and it was going to adverts, wasn't it, at the time? But it's like a massive break in the match. Yeah. It sort of ruins the fluidity.
They still do that, to be fair, these days.
Well, no, because they don't stop the match.
Well, no,
this is the difference. They actually stop
okay.
the match and wait until the adverts are rolled, and then move on. One of the biggest problems I had with the match is that there's no story being told. No. It's almost like they're going from move to move, but there's no real outcome, so they're not working over a specific point. They're not trying to eliminate one person. It was just a general tag team match. The ending was a double drop kick off the top rope with the Jumping Bomb Angels getting the pin. Mm-hmm. The replay showed that the shoulder wasn't down at all. I mean, it was okay.
I like the drop kick.
Yeah, the drop kick was really good. Yeah. I just think it went on a bit too long. It wasn't out special, and there was no story really in the match.
I think, I think the Angels are one of the tightest teams in that era. Whether you're a male team or a female team, I thought they were great.
They were.
Really surprised us. I think last pay-per-view, and I think they put on a decent showing. But yeah, I think there's a lot of that this era, just like there's a lot in that time where you can have a good match one week or one pay-per-view where things will shine and make a massive difference, and then this one fell a little bit flat, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So next up we've got the Andre the Giant and the Hulk Hogan contract signing, another segment which for me went on a little bit too long.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of time to fill. Yeah, and you could tell they were trying to play for time a lot of the time.
Yeah, just put on some wrestling instead.
Yeah, there could have been more matches on this card for how it came out. I thought that, like I say, it built, as ever, with two characters, Hogan and Andre, there's always gonna be an element of excitement there, but the crowd isn't involved. So you know what I mean. You can on camera there's a chemistry, and on camera you can build to something. But it certainly, it could have been a lot shorter.
I don't think it was as good a build as they had for the WrestleMania 3 match. No. So I don't think they'd continue. The Piper Pit segments were brilliant.
Yeah, incredible.
This isn't necessarily.
I would have done if I was going to do a contract signing. I would have done it in a Piper's Pit situation, or a Snake's Pit or whatever. But you see, the contract signings to this day bore me. They're the most boring part of
it's a weird concept.
That you sit two people at a table to sign a piece of paper,
and then
you have a fight.
They have a
but
fight.
It's just it's standard. But I don't think it's needed. There's contracts signed for every match.
So there was a question about with Jesse and Vince where there was arguing about whether or not Andre got the pin on Hulk at WrestleMania 3 within the first sort of 3 minutes. Fine, I don't mind stuff like that. That's okay. There was a video package showing $1 Million Man trying to buy Hulk's belt. Which is interesting, actually, because that sort of leads to something that happens just after this pay-per-view at the match at the contract signing.
It ends up with Andre, and then Andre, then $1 Million Man has a title because he buys it from Andre.
The only time Andre wins a title, he straight away sells it to the $1 Million Man. Which I think it's quite cool. And I think I think I can see what they were trying to do with the storyline, and I think that's okay. Hulk Hogan had a great promo with his "Hell no" again. Video footage of Andre attacking Hulk after he had a match, and the $1 Million Man trying to buy the belt off Andre, getting Andre to win so that he can buy the belt. It was an okay video package going into the rivalry. It was just the actual segment for the title match, which the title match was to be signed for the February the 5th. Wish they'd left this till WrestleMania 4.
Yeah, they could have done, couldn't they?
I think they were just trying to sell the TV show.
It was more, like I say, it was...
Let's hold on.
This was a lot of unnecessary faffing.
Yeah.
We'll call it faffing.
Andre's reading his contract for way too long, I think. And then the ending of it has him toss the table over Hulk Hogan, which is just... Hogan sells it like he's been hit by a bus, for God's sake. It's a table.
What are you gonna? The thing is though, what are you gonna do in that situation? You've been told to sell something. It's like you see some people. You see people sell. Me pushing you that. It's like I suppose it's part of the job description, isn't it? You have to sell. If you get a table knocked onto you, you have to sell it like you've been smashed in the face by a bus.
Yeah. Well, I've always said I think some footballers should go on to wrestling school actually to learn how to bloody sell.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
If not, when they get tackled, they just seem to fall over.
Yeah, too. But Hulk Hogan was, for at that period, I think he became less decent at it over time.
Yeah.
With age, but selling at that period, he was quite over the top, but it wasn't the worst.
It was told to do it, wasn't it?
Yeah, totally.
So next up we have the Royal Rumble.
Indeed. So
we have to have an explanation of the rules of the Royal Rumble, which must have been quite a weird concept to grasp at first, I think.
Yeah.
Especially because this Royal Rumble isn't as clear.
Yeah, it was an idea. I like the idea of how it came up with Pat Patterson and that.
Yeah, Pat Patterson. It was based around the Battle Royale, but it was more about getting people in slowly. I think this one gets too many people in without eliminating them.
Yeah, people love the idea of having a new person in, a legal run-in.
Yeah.
Every 2 minutes.
I think it's great. I love the Royal Rumble. Yeah. It's one of my favourite matches.
It's one of the most exciting, to this day, again, one of the most exciting pay-per-views, if not the most, or second most exciting pay-per-view of the year.
Potentially, yeah. I think the nice thing about a Royal Rumble is there's so many stories you can tell in the Royal Rumble with various feuds going on, and when it's done right, it's excellent. Like, just a couple of moments like Earthquake and Typhoon meeting up in the ring, and stuff. I love that moment because it's the two tag teams that were massive that were going to have to attack each other. You look at the modern Rumbles like the Braun Strowman, and this year had a great showing where he sort of eliminated quite a few people. Yeah. The Diesel match where Diesel sort of stood just eliminating people.
Kane,
and Kane, There's some wonderful moments that can be had in a Royal Rumble. I don't necessarily know if this one achieves it, but again, I'm going to talk about a couple of the wrestlers because there's a couple of people that are in this that wasn't that we haven't covered yet. One of the wrestlers is Sam Houston, who was the half brother of Jake the Snake and brother of Rockin' Robin. In 2005, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison for repeated DUI arrests, which is not very great.
Yeah, you just let him back in, right?
No. This was that was the weightlifter. Yeah, no, this is Sam Houston. It was 2005. He was arrested for 10 years for repeated DUIs, which is not good. And during the match, I kept thinking it was Terry Taylor, actually. I kept thinking it was Terry Taylor because he looks very similar, and I thought it was Terry Taylor without the rooster gimmick yet. But it wasn't, obviously. And then another small superstar who was making his pay-per-view appearance, I don't know if you've ever heard of him or not, I've never heard of him after the event, was the Ultimate Warrior.
There you go.
Ultimate Warrior's first pay-per-view appearance was in the Royal Rumble. He was amateur bodybuilder when he was younger. He formed a tag team in Continental Wrestling Association with Steve Borden, who became Sting.
And that's how their earlier looks as well. Like I think Ultimate Warrior kept that look in career, but their look was very.
Sting did as well.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, you're right.
The surfer dude.
Career, surfer dude. Yeah.
So I think it was originally like more black lipstick. They were called the Blade Runners. More black lipstick and eyeliner, and then it eventually started to become what was early Sting and early Ultimate Warrior. Yeah. And Ultimate Warrior is such an iconic wrestler, even to this day. People loved him and loved his energy as well. I think that's what sold Ultimate Warrior. His crazy promos as well.
Mental promos.
Yeah. He joined the WWF in June 1987, and he'd defeat a lot of jobbers, but was becoming known for his high energy ring entrances. So, and the music as well was great. It was. I think I listened.
He always had those entrances, man. He always had that music as well. The music is his music is
iconic. 80s.
Iconic,
yeah. And I know Jericho's a massive fan of that as well. Actually, I've listened to Jericho talk about that.
I think that probably plays into Jericho's. Like I say, Jericho's entrance now is iconic, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
And he's had that.
Always has been.
He's had that theme music since the 90s.
Yeah. I wish you'd do more with Fozzy in the WWF. I don't think they use it enough.
Not really a great fan of Fozzy.
I like Fozzy. Oh, I like Fozzy. Saw him earlier. Really good.
To be fair, I wouldn't have ever interviewed Jericho on Soundsphere magazine, by the way. I wouldn't have ever interviewed Jericho if it wasn't for Fozzy. So I
there we go. Yeah. He wasn't pinned in the WWF until a match with Rick Rude in December 1987. So Rick Rude was the first person, and they had a great feud later on as well.
Fantastic.
Become one of the biggest faces in the company, and he had the massive WrestleMania match, probably the biggest since the Andre Hulk match at WrestleMania 6 with the fellow babyface Hulk Hogan.
Indeed.
And in this day and age, it was very rare we'd get a babyface versus babyface, and they'd keep them both as babyfaces. And this was massive. I remember at the time you was either on Hulk's side or on Ultimate Warrior's time.
When Cena did it, Cena and Rock did it. It was either Rock or Cena. Do you know what I mean? It was very, very well done. Like I say, I love the Warrior, and I love what he stood for at the time, and I love that match. But let's not forget that the Ultimate Warrior also had one of the worst matches in history of the WWE on his return when he faced Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And that was poor as.
Oh, there are not as good.
I'm not trying to shit on.
But I'd say that his WrestleMania 6 match was actually, for two people that were not the best workers in the ring, they put on a hell of a match, and we'll get to that. There was WWE released a DVD in 2005 called The Self-Destruction of the Ultimate Warrior, which portrayed him in a very negative light. One of the things Ultimate Warrior said before he got into the Hall of Fame is, if you want me to become the Hall of Fame, you need to do a new DVD of me. So they did I think it was Greatest Hits or something like that. But they had a massive fallout, WWF and Ultimate Warrior, and it was all about pay, wasn't it? It was all about I think Ultimate Warrior not getting the same pay as Hulk Hogan when they were sort of both as big as each other at one point.
It was a bit like a CM Punk gripe. For that day and age, like you sell more T-shirts or you sell more merchandise or equal merchandise to the main marquee player,
and you don't get paid for it.
Not getting the same love.
And he died 3 days after being inducted to the Hall of Fame, and that sort of it's mentioned quite a lot on WWF nowadays and stuff that he, at least they finally managed to get back together. There's a great documentary that they released after the Hall of Fame, after he passed away, that sort of showed all the backstage stuff, and it's really quite nice actually, and a lot of the stuff that he said, and that's probably why they have the Ultimate Warrior. What's the award called at the Hall of Fame?
It's the Warrior Award.
The Warrior Award, that's it. Yeah.
It's funny because in pop culture you see a lot of Warrior references, and on YouTube you can find him training a lot of metal bands to go on tour and stuff. There's a band called Asking Alexandria from York actually, who became worldwide superstars. They have a thing on YouTube, a clip on YouTube where they visit the Warriors gym, and he trains them to cope with going on tour. Yeah, stuff like that. It's pretty funny. So I think in pop culture, the Warriors not quite to the level of Hogan, but I think his legacy outside of the wrestling ring is perhaps massive, understated. As well. I don't think he had the same. I don't think he had. Did he have many Hollywood? Another fact-checking thing for you guys to do, because clearly we don't know. Did he have a lot of Hollywood success in terms of movies? I'm sure there was a couple, but maybe I'm wrong. So
I wouldn't necessarily say so. If he did any, it wasn't the success of others. No.
It wasn't say like a Hogan or a Rock
or Roddy Piper. No.
Yeah, true. Although you still tell me that film, I don't know of it.
I need to watch it.
I need to watch it. I think we should probably spend most of our time advertising They Live and how good it is on this podcast, but I need to watch it. I still haven't watched it.
It's great. So the match wasn't the first Royal Rumble match. We mentioned this at the start of the episode. They'd had an experimental Rumble on October the 4th in 1987, which they had one-man gang win.
Indeed. And the end of this is definitely taken from that. The inspiration, but with a different winner. One Man Gang, probably again one of the most underrated big men in wrestling.
Why did they have to turn him into a king?
As far as we said this last time, Anthony's got a massive gripe with WWE for that the African Dream gimmick. One Man Gang, like I say, one of the best big men in history. So we believe justice for One Man Gang. We believe he should be credited, but he is not credited as the first winner of the first Royal Rumble.
He's not even recognised.
Nope, that honour does go to somebody else.
Yep. Ooh. So the match starts off with Bret Hart in the ring with Tito Santana.
First official entry.
It was Bret Hart,
25 minutes. I think he has quite a long
run in the Rumble as well, And the commentators are selling that he's been in there longest, so he can't do as well because he's been the sort of general Rumble stuff for this time.
It launches Bret Hart. Like, do you know what I mean? It launches Bret Hart though. I think nobody ever I don't think anybody would have seen how successful he would have been at that time, but certainly his drive and his grit and his overall work ethic in the ring was showcased here.
I think he did a good job. There's not a lot of action between the two though, and then obviously we get the second person coming out, which is a natural Butch Reed. Both start working over Tito, so now we've got two heels and one face. And then Jin the Anvil Neidhart enters, so we've got the three heels all versus Tito, and that's what I mean. That's the sort of story that you can start to get involved in the Royal Rumble, and I think that was actually possibly the best example in this Rumble of the story being well told. So you had Tito able to just hold on long enough for Jake the Snake to come in, and obviously he gets a huge pop because he's a babyface at the time. Evens the odds. Butch Reed was eliminated by Jake the Snake. Jake goes for the DDT on Hart, but Anvil stops with a clothesline.
And everyone's going for the DDT. All the fans are going for the DDT
again. This move became massive. But I don't think he actually did a DDT. I didn't see one.
No, we talked about this. We couldn't find one.
Sometimes with the Rumble, one of the difficult things is that you've got camera angles going everywhere, especially with what they did in this Rumble, where they don't eliminate many people, they just sort of throw people in, which is sort of a reverse battle royal. And I'd say the interesting part of a battle royal comes after the first sort of 3 minutes generally. Next up we have King Harley Race entering, and he goes straight after Jake. These two have been feuding a little bit. Killer Bees jumping Jim Brunzell comes in. Hart's nearly eliminated.
It was a close one.
Great work from Hart to make it look so close.
He was always good at that though.
He was good,
just like Shawn Michaels for all the talk about.
That Shawn Michaels role was brilliant.
Yeah, we always talk about like I say, guys like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels were just Shawn Michaels was a little bit over the top, but
It's ring awareness.
Some of
isn't
the
it?
best sellers, some of the best sellers in the business.
Yeah, great. Sam Houston comes in. Santana was thrown out by the Heart Foundation. Good to see the Heart Foundation looking strong now. Dangerous Danny Davis comes in. The King did some good back and forth with Jake, actually. I quite enjoyed Harley racing this. He was sort of flat on the ring ropes, going back on the ring ropes, but like keeping flat. It looked it looked a bit comical, but I quite enjoyed it, and it showed the strength of his inner core, if you like, as well. Boris Zukov enters. Not a lot changes in the match. Don Morocco comes down with Volkov, though. So this is the Nikolai Volkov comes down at the same time, and obviously him and Boris Zukov were tag team partners at the time. Yeah. And there was arguing over the position of who was supposed to be in.
11,
yeah. Morocco was the actual person that was supposed to be there, so Volkov has to sort of wait on the outside of the ring for 2 minutes. And during the time that he was waiting there, Zukov is obviously eliminated. So we've got that little bit of story in, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
Volkov finally enters. King Harley Race eliminated Morocco. I was quite surprised by that because they've been selling Morocco quite a lot, haven't they?
I think it was built to be quite strong at that time.
Yeah. And then we have Hacksaw Jim Duggan enter. Hacksaw
Jim Duggan.
Dugan. Where do I get Dugan from? Is it an Uncharted thing or something?
I'm not sure, but
the crowd go crazy. Super over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Constantly.
Again, one of the sad stories of WWE. I think that a guy like Duggan with his, and he's probably one of the most hardest working performers in wrestling history, just never really, like, he had success, like we covered, he had success in other places, but it was never quite reached the heights that he perhaps should have done.
No.
with his mega 2x4 in the WWE, and
he was super over at this point. Everyone loved him.
It must be nice to look back on for him, because obviously I think he's still on a Legends contract with the WWE. He still appears on and off. It must be nice to look back on. This period for him. And all those feuds.
And it cemented him in the certainly this match cemented him in the
the record books, the legacy. I think he had some nice feuds with Sergeant Slaughter and stuff. But again, that tired old gimmick. It was very much that tired old kind of US.
I don't know if it was tired at this point though. It's tired for us now. I don't think it was at the time. I think people still loved it.
They used it a lot. Yeah.
Axe starts a fight with Harley on the ramp, so Harley's just been eliminated, so Hacksaw Jim Duggan starts a fight with him. So again, before he gets in the ring, he's beating people up. There was a nice moment where he delivered 10 punches to Neidhart and constantly going for the shout, and the crowd are loving it. And it's all right. Ron Bass, the Outlaw, comes in at 14. Jim Brunzell is eliminated. Brunzell was eliminated by Volkov. Another one. Morocco did another great. He'd got put into the ropes again.
Yeah.
And he'd got swung into the ropes, and he did like a really over the top Shawn Michaels Irish whip again. It's great to see a big man do that. Actually, I thought it was good fun.
Yeah, it surprised me.
I think I said earlier that Morocco was out. It was Morocco that got Harley Race out. Sorry. So then we have B. Brian Blair enter. Danny Davis and Jake have been at it a while. The crowd shouting for the DDT. It was nice to see Jake focusing on Danny Davis and having that sort of face heel easy. Because Danny was a massive heel at the time.
Yeah, massive feud. It really, like I say, I'll say it again. Really annoyed me, but Danny Davis. But yeah, it was a nice feud to. They still do that occasionally, and these days they clear the ring, don't they, for the big feud that's happening. So they'll have that one guy will come in and then they'll stare each other down and stuff, which wasn't customary at this time.
No,
they probably didn't have the forethought to do that, but it was nice to have those two run in. Have a run in at the Rumble.
And they did good work together. And the thing I like about Danny Davis is I thought he could sell. I didn't believe in him as a competitor to win, but he could sell well. Hillbilly Jim enters next. Don't see enough of Hillbilly Jim in these pay-per-views sometimes, do we?
There's never enough Hillbilly Jim anyway.
Hillbilly
Jim was great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
He goes straight after Anvil, and Hillbilly Jim tosses Anvil over the rope. So we got to Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Hillbilly Jim, who were both really big men. You can sort of see them quite clearly. B. Brian Blair nearly went out by Ron Bass. Ron Bass had quite a good showing in this match, actually. I think they were trying to push him, but it never materialised.
Yeah, it didn't really work, did it?
Dino Bravo was the next to enter. So we've just seen him with his weightlifting extravaganza earlier on in the match. Sam Houston was eliminated by Bass, thrown off his shoulders, which looked quite nice. Bret Hart, the number 1 competitor, was still in here.
Yeah.
18.
And people were digging Bret Hart still being in, I think, as well. People quite liked him.
I think so, yeah.
I think people started to cheer for him as an individual, and I think probably that's when one of the signifiers for WWE's eventual
starting to give him a push him as a single competitor, probably, yeah. Next up we have Ultimate Warrior, who comes in. Nice to see Ultimate Warrior in the ring. Not necessarily the best worker, but iconic, certainly.
Indeed.
Bret Hart was eliminated by Hacksaw Jim Duggan, so Bret Hart's gone. 19, we have One Man Gang enter. Warrior went straight after One Man Gang. And then One Man Gang was the one that eliminated Jake the Snake.
Yes.
Which is sad that Jake didn't get... he
we
was
were
in the Rumble for a while,
talking about
wasn't he?
this yesterday. We've been having a couple of Rumble matches on 2K17, and we were talking about how it was sad that Jake never got the like a Rumble win or something of that nature.
It would have been nice.
Yeah,
and to this day, it'd still be nice to see Jake come into the Rumble and just deliver a DDT.
Just one.
Just one is fine.
Jake's more likely to be watching this than Vince, I guess. So if you want to do it, Jake, that'd be killer. Jake's
awesome, man. I think he really wants to do it.
I think we're very clear about who we support. In this era and the current era on this podcast. Maybe we're a little bit too impartial to some people, but
maybe so.
I think
next
Jake,
up, your favourite enters, Junkyard Dog.
Oh yeah, JYD.
Don't get as much of a pop as he normally did. Sort of 2 years ago, sort of dying off a little bit now.
No man, Junkyard Dog's he's a cult fan favourite, isn't he? But I think people were people have new people to cheer for now.
Yeah,
you had the Ultimate Warrior who filled that nice spot.
Yeah. So Hacksaw Jim Duggan eliminates Volkov. Hillbilly Jim was eliminated by One Man Gang. Ultimate Warrior again tries to take on One Man Gang. Danny Davis gets a massive clothesline from Jim Duggan, which looks great. The Warrior is put out by Dino and One Man Gang. Jesse wishes Bruno was there, so for the old man to take a few bumps, which I thought was quite funny.
Yeah.
Nice to mention Bruno Sammartino again, obviously. Junkyard Dog is eliminated by Ron Bass, of all people. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, again, that probably,
push for Ron Bass.
Yeah, signifies Junkyard Dog's slope down the card, I guess, or down in their estimation, which is, again, sad. But
And Morocco was out by... Morocco got out Ron Bass. So there was 4 men left, which was Morocco, Dino Bravo, One Man Gang, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. So we've got 2 faces, 2 heels. Again,
nice dynamic.
This is quite nice again, where the match sort of gets a little bit more interesting. Frenchie gets drop kicked off the apron by Morocco. Everyone loves
the
that.
Manager, absolutely,
Morocco double teamed by One Man Gang and Dino. So it's 2 heels versus 1 face. One Man Gang gets Dino out as Hacksaw ducks the clothesline, which I thought was quite nice.
Nice moment.
Yeah. And it was sort of leading on to the end of the match as well. So Hacksaw pulls down the rope, sending One Man Gang's momentum over it. And we have a winner.
Indeed.
First ever Royal Rumble winner, which was Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Yeah, congrats, Hacksaw.
I don't think there was enough story necessarily in this Rumble to make it great. No. I think it's good to watch as a history defining moment.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say to watch the entire pay-per-view, but this, it's an important match. I think they got better. I think this was, the first outing.
Yeah, I mean, I say, I think Hacksaw, it was a good moment for Hacksaw and a good indication of what One Man Gang could have achieved. A great showing for the Warrior, incredible showing for Bret Hart. I was, like I say, if you look at Dino Bravo, what he could have been as well. There was a lot of really talented people that could have done a lot more, and a lot of people that, of course, went on to do incredible things. So, and there will always be that. There will always be that in every Rumble and every just the guys that You know, I mean,
out there yet.
But then a few years ago, you had Santino was one of the last. Santino Morello was one of the last entrants. I think he wasn't. He entered and then he hid under the ring and came. He was one of the last 2 entrants, and people were going to support Santino to win the Rumble. So, slight digression. But what I'm saying is that the Rumble's that place where anything could happen. You know, anything could happen. Normally it does not. Normally the guy, normally you tease it and it happens. You know, you get the Dean Ambroses, the Santino Morellos. Not that I'm lumping the two in the same category, but the guys that could win maybe will win. Everyone would love them to win, but it's never actually going to happen. Yeah. The Roman Reigns and the Braun Strowman are all.
But it's nice to get a first win and the first Royal Rumble, I think. And,
absolutely.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So the next match is another 2 out of 3 falls match, and it's another tag match with Haku and Tama, who are the Islanders. Versus the Young Stallions, which was obviously Paul Roma and Jim Powers.
Yes.
There's a lot of talk at the start of the match of Matilda being stolen by the Islanders.
Yeah, that was literally their defining moment as a tag team as well.
Probably, yeah.
That was the best thing they ever did.
But then I think, perhaps this is again, with it not being a pay-per-view, it would have been better to have seen the Bulldogs versus the Islanders at this point, as opposed to the Young Stallions.
The Young Stallions were the team.
Young Stallions were over.
They were the team that was supposed to do great things, but didn't.
No, not really. No.
No, and there was a lot of reasons, which I think we covered in the last podcast. But this was weak in comparison to the comparison to the Rumble and comparison to the previous matches.
The Survivor,
I was not a fan of this. There's not a great deal to say about either teams. Obviously, the Islanders get the victory, but the Young Stallions. Like I say, very much like the Mega Powers, very much like Lex Luger and what Lex Luger and Hogan were supposed to be. They were supposed to be the next great tag team, the next great powerhouse tag team that did.
I think they were just too bland to.
Yeah, very much so.
To be honest with you. And the Islands were too far the other. The Islanders were too far the other.
The Islanders did. Like I say, we talk about rehashing a lot. They did what they were supposed to do with the Islanders with the head shrinkers.
I think so. Yeah.
And then obviously now you've got the Usos and stuff, but very different gimmicks, I guess. But at that time. These two were supposed to be, the kind of the American made kind of very they look good, they're the heroes of the piece kind of thing, and I think that Vince McMahon created them and called them the Young Stallions for that reason, but then of course a lot of backstage problems and just general blandness.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I think that thing plagued Lex Luger. In his career, these guys were like, Lex Luger 1 and 2. They were supposed to be they were supposed to be the champions. They were supposed to be the blueprint for what a champion or a tag team champion team should look like. But just overall, very bland characters. Yeah. I think that same thing affects Roman Reigns to this day.
It's interesting you bring up Roman Reigns. Don't you think Tama looked just like Roman Reigns?
Yeah. Well, same family. Yeah. It's the same family. It's a good point there. Well,
do you know the relationship between Tama and Roman Reigns?
It's like it's distant cousins.
Is it something like that? Yeah, will be. Yeah. There was a bit of racist back and forth as well before the match between Jesse and Vince, which I didn't really get.
There was a lot.
There's a reference to feet as well at some point, which was I think it was supposed to be a racist dig. I didn't.
Yeah, there was a lot of those sly digs back at this period of time when it was, people were calling it. People were just trying to get away with a lot of stuff that you would never get away with these days, quite rightly. And but back in the day, things were a lot more. People were a lot more. I guess patient with stuff like that, which is a shame. But yeah, it was racism was and probably still is in some small form rife in wrestling.
It's rife everywhere.
But,
I think.
Obviously,
well, not rife. Hopefully, it's been eliminated.
Yeah. We could get really deep about this, but like I say, there's a lot of.
But this is wrestling.
Yeah, this is wrestling. And this match shouldn't have been where it was on the card, and Young Stallions were super over. At this point in time, they were a fresh team in terms of their longevity, so I can see why they were given the push they were given and why they were in this situation. The Islanders less so.
Agreed.
Haku, obviously, incredible talent. His Savat kick is
his solo stuff was great.
Yeah,
I think.
his finisher Savat kick is brilliant. I love that kick. I love how he did it. But this team, that both teams, unfortunately for me, and please do offer opinions if you disagree. The teams fell flat for me.
Well, Roma wasn't able to beat the 10 count due to injuring his knee on the way out of the ring when Haku pulled down the rope. It was a really late count by the ref, though, which I don't think helped stuff. There was an interesting, so that was sort of an interesting story that played out. I just don't think they did it justice. Then we went to a commercial break, and the young stallions had gone backstage to regroup, which again is that sort of thing of stopping the match halfway through, making people wait around. So they actually moved on to some promos with Ted DiBiase and Andre and Virgil, and how they'll beat Hulk Hogan. I love Virgil.
I can't wait to start talking about Virgil.
We should talk about Virgil.
You know what? He's got such a legacy for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
You know about his like him being seen in service stations trying to sell out.
Lonely Virgil.
And like tell you Lonely Virgil.
I think Lonely Virgil is the website.
We could probably get Virgil on the podcast.
Let's make it happen.
Virgil will fly you over if you pay your costs, and you can come and be a part of the thing, and you can just promote all your terrible brands.
You can just stand behind us holding money. It'd be great.
He ain't gonna have any.
Oh yeah, so
we've just spent on all the merchandise, so we ain't got no money. So Virgil, come be a part of Give Me a Hole. Yeah, you'll love it, mate. You'll love it.
Andre again as a heel, great deep voice, really terrifying.
Much
in
more,
a way.
much more. Yeah,
really went nice.
Very clever. Very clever.
So back to the match, which is frustrating to say. Back to the match after an advert break and
back to the match
and a promo.
Yeah.
But that's the point. It's just breaks up the match for no reason. All this,
stupid,
So Jim Powers gets the most of the action because obviously Paul Roma's got the injury. Haku clearly missed a drop kick at one point, yet it was still sold. Roma gets a tag even though he's got a leg injury, which leads to Roma getting pinned. And he didn't get pinned. He got the half crab, which forced Roma to submit. The one thing that I quite like about that is a 2 out of 3 falls match generally goes 1-1 and then to 1-2. It was quite nice to see the Islanders pick up
it was
a 2-0 win.
It was a domination, wasn't it?
And then the pay-per-view continues for whatever reason. So it moves on to Vince and Jesse talking about the lift and they're sort of summarising about the match, but Vince doesn't have Vince doesn't make me want to stay and watch it, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, kind of boring.
And then there's shots of an empty arena because the arena's cleared out, which is just, why show that?
Do that? Yeah, I think again, just too much time to play with here.
I missed so as an overall pay-per-view, what I'd say about this is I really missed a lot of the other talent. And even the Royal Rumble for me, and this isn't something that I mentioned about the Royal Rumble, part of my problem with the Royal Rumble is it was too much about tag teams all the way through. It wasn't enough about singles.
I think that you make an excellent point earlier. This was billed, it wasn't billed as such, but it was a TV special.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I think that's what we need to remember in this context, is that it was a TV special, and I think they may have put a little bit more effort into it if they'd have. They should have put a bit more effort into it, but I think that we're being quite hard on it, and I think that we should be, but at the same time, there was a lot of problems that were ironed out for future Royal Rumbles because of this.
But I mean, obviously, people that were missing like Bam Bam, Orndorff, Savage.
Yeah.
We're missing quite a lot of great talent, especially with a Rumble match, because that's the type of match where you can throw that talent in, and it doesn't even need to have necessarily a reason or a story. It's just great in-ring work.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So, in terms of Gay Star rating,
2 Gay Stars.
2 Gay Stars.
My weakest rating so far, I believe.
Is it? So this is worse than WrestleMania 2. Maybe it is.
No, I think actually. No, did I give WrestleMania 2 2 Gay Stars?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't remember.
But I'll give this 2.
I think it's important history-wise. I'd probably give it 1, just because I think What was your match of the night?
Ah man, there wasn't. I'd say the Rumble, man. Like I'd say the Rumble. Like you can't really.
There's nothing special in any of the other matches.
The first, like the women's like 2 out of 3 was all right.
Yeah,
that was
okay.
my second, but it was better than it was better than the last one, I thought personally. But and I mean it was a nice moment. There was some nice moments in the Rude match. Excuse me for clinking.
Mm-hmm.
There was some nice moments in the Rude match, but basically. There wasn't just not a lot there.
Yeah, 1 star. I'd probably say if you were to go back and watch one match, watch the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Don't bother with the pay-per-view though. It's not that great.
No.
Thank you very much for joining us on today's episode.
Indeed. Hopefully you've enjoyed our drawl and our ramblings and drawl about Rude's pants. Rude's tights. They were the best thing about the pay per view.
I think so.
Was Rude's tights?
No, he didn't have them this time, did he?
I'm thinking about. I'm still.
You just fixating on his tights and the Ultimate Warrior tights.
I'm still fixated on those Ultimate Warrior tights. Yeah, I think the conversation we had about the tights are the highlight of the podcast. Yeah, totally.
Please give us a like on YouTube.
Yeah.
Subscribe to the channel. We have a Wrestling Rewind episode every Friday.
Indeed.
And we'll be keeping up with that.
Indeed.
We're still enjoying doing it.
Making comments about random shit. And hopefully you dig listening to it, and if you don't, tell us, and we'll try and get better. And also, don't forget to somebody tweet out to Virgil that we want him on the podcast.
Go to Gimme a Hull Yeah at Facebook,
Twitter.
on Patreon for more of us, and check back our other videos.
Yeah, Gimme a Hull Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right.